Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our October edition of our monthly Startup Resources series. Again, if you're a series subscriber, welcome back. And if you're new to this series, we welcome you as well for joining us. I'm Lisa Bajornis. I'm Executive Director of our Kentucky Innovation Hubs, and I am with KSTC. And of course, I'm joined with our partners at the Cabinet, our team, KY Innovation, to bring you this monthly series. We've got a good one for you, and I know folks are still logging in, so I've got just a couple of opening remarks. If you're familiar and if you're not, here's the rundown on our agenda. We have a great featured speaker for you today with Bluegrass Angels, and we'll get into that topic. And of course, as you know, you're always welcome to drop your questions in the chat, and we'll get to those as time allows. But we do welcome your questions in the chat. We do also have a featured short minute update about a new Kentucky initiative called Speed to Market, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about that. And of course, we'll round out today with our Innovation Hub highlight featuring Amplify today. And then I've got a quick rundown of some of the upcoming events that are happening across Kentucky, serving all of our entrepreneurial region. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started here. There we go. All righty. As you know, we keep a library on our KSTC site under the Kentucky Innovation Hubs drop-down menu. If you ever want to go back to a past resources series webinar, they are all there for you with whatever the title was, and you can view those recordings. So I encourage you to share that with your team members. Feel free to share that far and wide so that anybody can go back to our library of Startup Resources series. I'm filling in very quickly for David Brock, who is the Executive Director of KY Innovation within the Cabinet for Economic Development. He's away at a conference, but he did ask me to remind you of this. Applications for the Small Business Tax Credit program need to be received by the Cabinet by November 1st, and that's so that your startup clients can ensure review for this tax year by the Cabinet team there. So applications for the SBTC, Small Business Tax Credit Program, are due by November 1st to get a review this year. So be sure and remind your folks that would like to take advantage of that great program and reduce their tax credit liability. All right. We are going to jump right into it. And it is my absolute pleasure to introduce to you today Brian Luftman. He's an angel investor with Bluegrass Angels. Surprisingly, in the several years, I think we're 3 years now into this particular series, we have not heard from Bluegrass Angels, although this is the longest standing angel group in the Commonwealth. And so by all means, we need to rectify that. And I've asked Brian to just talk a little bit about their investment thesis, how they evaluate startups for potential investment, how founders can apply for funding, and what do they specifically look for in early stage companies that makes them really compelling and something to consider for their portfolio. So I will stop sharing. And Brian, if you have slides, you're welcome to share, but not necessary. And welcome.
Thanks, Lisa. And I do have slides up. We'll just
perfect.
just go off the cuff. I want to thank Lisa and Christine for putting on these events and providing a platform for entrepreneurs to learn how to make their dreams come true here in Kentucky. And thanks for everybody who's on the call. I can't tell how many people there might be, 3 or 200. I have no idea, but thanks to everybody for being. Okay, awesome. So yeah, I'm Brian Luftman. I've been with the Bluegrass Angels for probably 15 years now. When I started, I had moved back from Chicago. I grew up in Kentucky, and Chris Young is a friend of mine, and he had been away from, like, both of us grew up in Kentucky and Lexington and love it, but we had moved away for 10 years and came back. And he roped me into Bluegrass Angels, saying that this is a group that is making investments in Kentucky and venture. They need aggressive younger people like us to maybe accelerate what they're doing and provide a little bit of more modern thinking around angel investment and venture startup type of support. So he and I jumped in with both feet. All of the people that were currently involved with Bluegrass Angels pretty much recognized that Chris and I and a few other younger, more hungry people were excited about getting it restarted and rebooted. So I mean, Chris and I run the group at this point with, I mean, we're the two main leaders of it, and then we've got a leadership group, and then we run. So it's a membership group. So I'll give a little, it's just a background on what Bluegrass Angels is. So it's literally a membership group for accredited investors. Costs $500 a year to be a member of Bluegrass Angels. We have quite a few Louisville investors, but most of them are in Lexington or around there because that's where we're located, and they get to come in person. And that $500, you get to see all of our pitches. We have a monthly meeting. It's very Shark Tank-ish, where we have a screening meeting that screens anywhere from 5 to 10 companies a month, and the best two, or the ones that are the most qualified, go through and they actually pitch our meeting every month. So we have 10 meetings a year. We take a couple months off due to holidays and the middle of the summer. So we'll see about 20 pitches a year, and we end up funding, 2 or 3 of them, 4 of them. And sometimes people, throw shade on us a little bit, saying they don't fund that many companies, but it's a hard game. I mean, we're trying our best to justify investments that we think can be 5, 10x true, like entrepreneurial dream startup type of deals for the state of Kentucky. So we don't just invest in anything. There's a lot of companies, there's a lot of startup resources that throw seed money at a lot of companies to see if they will move and accelerate beyond that. But we're more of we like leading deals once they've gone a little bit past the seed stage, if that makes sense. So every few years we put together a fund amongst our membership, and that's what we invest out of. So if you pay $500 a year to be a Bluegrass Angels member, I mean, literally, that's just your admission to come to the meetings, and you could network with us and whatever. There's no mandate to invest. Now, our members like pooling their money, and every few years, so we raised $6 million, 6.5 million a couple years ago for Bluegrass Angels Fund 5. And we've almost invested most of that money. I mean, we've got about $1 million left of dry powder, and then we'll start Fund 6. And that fund is managed by myself, Chris, and about 8 other managers who do it for no income. We literally are volunteers. We do this for the goodness of our hearts, and because I like investing in the deals too and seeing the deal flow. So I do get something out of it, but more so it's because I love venture and entrepreneurship, and I genuinely believe that this is the best way to create economic stimulation throughout the state of Kentucky. I don't see us recruiting Oracle and Google into Kentucky the way that Tennessee is these days. And so unless we start recruiting economic development, which I don't see happening a whole lot, we got to build it ourselves. And that's what I genuinely believe is why I spent so much time on this and why I'm here talking to you today. And I invite all of you to reach out to Bluegrass Angels to help us fulfill your dreams in a way. So I'll explain a little bit on how that could work. Lisa, any thoughts on where I'm going so far, or are we doing well?
You are doing well. All good.
Okay. And feel free to throw your hands up in the chat or ask questions. I'm happy to, pivot for a
Yep,
second.
I'm facilitating that for you. So
Thanks.
you're good.
Yeah. Okay. So when I started Bluegrass Angels 15 years ago, Louisville had a group called the Enterprise Angels. And they were active, and there was a good amount of people that were in Louisville that were working on this type of thing. But then it sort of fell away a little bit, and it takes leadership of certain individuals that are willing to do it, and they just kind of like lost that. And there's nothing against Louisville, and we've welcomed a lot of the Enterprise Angels members to be members of Bluegrass Angels, but there's a hole in Louisville, and we're not trying. I mean, obviously, we're not making any money off this, so we're not trying to run the state as entrepreneurship. We hope more groups like Bluegrass Angels jump in. But for now, it seems like we're kind of one of the few deals that are groups that is leading deals in Kentucky, like literally taking a lead.
And that's mandatory. You got to have it. That's what we feel, this like pressure to keep our thing going, because if we don't lead a deal, who does? Because there are other resources like Invest Blue, which is a very good one here in Lexington, that's run by UK and Eric Hartman and Rochelle Smalls, and they do excellent work on helping individual companies get to a level where they would take on investment. They're even doing some syndication deals. Keyhorse Capital is a great first resource, or like early stage resource to get some capital in, but they won't lead a deal. They will make a commitment, and then they will say, you go out and find matching matching funds. I've got a question. I'll get to that in a second. So they suggest that you go out and find some matching funds so that they will, make that investment. And it works. And then there's also Awesome Inc. That's here in Lexington that does a fellowship program, and I'm sure there's resources in Louisville as well that I'm not. And Lisa, you probably can talk about that a little bit. I know Venture First and Render Capital are both in Louisville. If there's others that I'm missing, please.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe Lisa can chime in on those. But the bottom line is there's a lot of earlier stage resources to try to get to a level where Bluegrass Angels will invest. And there were a couple questions on how can you apply for funding through Bluegrass Angels just now. So, and I'm going to get into the what we're looking for. That's kind of the main bulk of my talk today, of like how do you build a pitch and create a company that would be investable, so to speak. But the how do you get in touch with us? So the bluegrassangels.com is our website. And if you submit your application through there, and go to take the steps to upload your things to Dealum is a platform we use, and it just builds us a one-pager executive summary on what you're working on, what your deal terms are, and everything like that. And from there, we will put you into a pipeline to where your company, and we don't have a huge pipeline, so you will get, it's not like a stack of 100 companies that we're trying to sort through. Like, you'll get a screening committee. You'll either get a rejection saying this is why you're not ready, or we don't think this is a fit. But you'll most likely get, if you're a reasonably like you've moved along to where you actually have a real company, it's not just an idea, then we'll do a screening meeting, and you'll meet with a few Bluegrass Angels members, and they will assess and ask you questions, and you pitch them basically, and you're trying to get through that step to where they're like, this company would do well in our member meeting, because we only put companies through that we think have a chance of getting funding through the member meeting. And at that point, you go pitch the whole group, and then our fund meets the following week to decide if we want to go into due diligence with that company or not. So that's kind of the pipeline of how our deal flow goes into the platform. So I invite anyone who has an idea, a company or a venture that has some traction to submit to Bluegrass Angels, and we would love to see it. Or if you have a friend that does, and you're like, that would be a really good fit for them. Because we're pretty good investor. I think anybody that's ever taken money from us, I don't think anybody would ever say they regretted it. We end up putting one of our board members on their board if they're willing to have us, and they should. I mean, we're mostly benevolent and willing to help. And I think we're a good investor on the board that can provide some real feedback. So,
Brian, in terms of
go ahead.
application, is it important for the founder to have previously established a relationship informally with members of Bluegrass Angels before they submit, or will you, take a look at and review anything that comes into you cold, so to speak, through your application portal?
Frankly, we're agnostic to whether, we're going to assess the deal based on the merit of the deal specifically. I mean, if you're not getting an answer from us for some reason, then I would suggest reaching out to one of the members of Bluegrass Angels to be like, what the heck's going on? But it doesn't necessarily help that much to us to have established that relationship yet. We'll assess. If you get a negative and you get a no from us and you want further feedback, then obviously reach out to a member.
Right.
But yeah, it's merit based for sure.
Great.
So speaking of that, I guess I might as well go ahead and get into what we're looking for. And we're not the only, these are not rules. If you don't meet these requirements, you don't get funding, period. It's just like, this is the type of deal that Bluegrass Angels is looking for. There are companies that are there's venture groups that are looking for women-led founder groups only. I mean, and that's their process, and that's what they're looking for. And there's others that are looking for agricultural based companies. I mean, we're pretty much looking for scalable technology companies or protected IP related companies that we think can scale. So essentially, a company that we think we can project or talk ourselves into the company being able to make a 10x return on our investment. And so I'll walk through how we sort of assess that. And so there's a lot of businesses that are excellent businesses that would not qualify. So for instance, if you have a phenomenal restaurant concept, like I don't know, you created this like different kind of sandwich and everyone loves it and it's just going crazy at this one location in Louisville. You came to us and you're like, look at our growth rate, look at our team, everything's great. We're probably not going to invest in that, even because we realize that it requires a ton of physical real estate expertise in different category in different areas, and the operational risk and all of the staffing and everything like that we just don't understand. As like that, we just don't invest in companies like that. But we've had a lot of beverage companies come through Bluegrass Angels because you can scale a beverage company, and you could convince me that like that would be a good investment. Like we've got this, I don't know, this antioxidant rich hydration drink, and you know what I mean, like, and but it's unique, and so we've had a lot of pitches like that. We've never funded any of them, even some of them are exciting. So I will like those are just some that just don't really work, and sometimes we call them lifestyle businesses. Like someone's created a really good consulting company, and they as a team are incredible, but we realize that their bandwidth is the real dynamic force behind that company, and it's not necessarily repeatable or scalable. So those are the kind of the pitfalls. Like stay away from those. If you're that type of company, there could be success for you, but it's just not going to be a Bluegrass Angels pitch. So ours is like I said, looking for 10x. I'm going to walk you through what I think is the right way to build a pitch deck, or a pitch to us. And these are just the boxes you're going to want to check in this order, I think. I mean, this is just, in my opinion, the perfect pitch is an entrepreneur comes in with excitement, okay, and confidence, and they can convince us that they're excited about what they've built, and they've got confidence that they can execute it, and that they're going to make us a lot of money. Like that's the perfect pitch. So the way you do it is you obviously identify a problem, and then you provide the solution, and that's what pretty much every venture is. You've got a problem, or you've got a hole in the market, or there's something that people have never seen before, and you're gonna show it to them, and you're gonna fix it for them. Whatever it is, your solution has to be spectacular, and it has to be scalable, and it has to be protectable. So people talk about a moat in business, and I'm sure quite a few people have heard about that. And it's just an old school term talking about the moat around your castle that protects what's valuable. And if you have a world-class software, you don't need a patent on it. But what we need to assess how are you gonna how can nobody compete with you? How can somebody not copy this, right? Now that's not you don't have to be full protection. I mean, Uber made billions of dollars, and Lyft literally copied it, or maybe they coincidentally made them at the same time. But like the bottom line is there was nothing necessarily protectable there, but there was, there was first mover advantage. And that's why they became billionaires. And it was copyable, and it still is. I mean, you could create the third Uber or Lyft right now and probably make a decent business, but like just that scalability. If the Uber CEO could have convinced me, we can't protect this, but here's how we're going to get this out into the world really freaking quick, and no one else is going to be able to touch us on speed. That's advantage. That's protectable, in my opinion. Like they've got something that other people aren't going to be able to compete with. Like even if it's their velocity with with their marketing method that got them into where they are, that's a compelling sales pitch to me. So how can you convince us that your solution can't be copied, or you're going to go so fast that no one else is going to be able to catch you? That's kind of the perfect pitch, in my opinion. And then where a lot of entrepreneurs fall short, and this is super important, is a lot of people have ideas, and very few have the ability to execute
on that idea to a point where somebody would be convinced that they're going to succeed beyond that. And so you have to prove that you're in that elite 2 to 5% of people that will take an idea and actually achieve milestones. Because if you come to any venture investor with just a straight up idea that you've sketched on some paper, or you, even if you're a really good salesman, you're like, this is going to change the world. Let me tell you how. And I'm the guy to do it. You're like, okay, what have you done? What steps have you taken? What milestones have you achieved? What customer traction have you done? What prototype have you built? Whatever it is, you have to have some sort of tangible, like measurable success that you've already achieved. And I know that's hard because a lot of people are like, well, okay, where do I get the money to get a milestone or build a team or build the software around this idea? Well, there are resources for that. It's just not necessarily going to come from a group like ours. We're looking for a group with traction. We want to make risky bets. Like, we will make risky bets. We want to make, like I said, 5-10 bets a year, knowing that 4 of them will probably fail, but the other one is going to like make up for all of it. And that's kind of the method. That's what has worked for us. I mean, we've had some big winners and quite a few losers, to be honest, but you got to prove that you're not going to be one of the losers. Even though we think every one of them is going to be a winner when we invest in them, we know damn well it's not going to be. So we have to at least be able to kind of cull out the ones that we don't think are going to be winners because they haven't proven anything. So definitely don't pitch us unless you can really show some traction. And even if it's minuscule, like I'm talking like you're convinced you're going to take over insurance billing. Okay, I'm just throwing out a fake business or a business. Like, there's insurance billing goes on all over the country every day. How are you going to change that? That's a massive billion-dollar market. But if you prove that you got one insurance company that thought your solution was better than someone else's and they took it on, and over the last month you've saved them this much money or you've made them this much more money, and you've got a client testimonial from them, that's massive. That's traction. That even though your revenue from them might only be $200 that month, you know what I mean? You can point to that and say, this company loves us and they're amplifying what they're doing. They introduced us to one of their friends who does it. That's when all of us investors, like, our eyes perk up. We're like, okay, this is compelling. So that, I think that's the most important thing. If you take one thing away from this is milestones are important, and don't be scared. Don't put too many, like a milestone too far in front of you to get yourself intimidated. Like, how the hell am I going to take over the insurance billing company, like, world? You know what I mean? Like, if your goals are that far in the future and you don't set smaller goals in the meantime, like, you're not going to get there. Like, if you want to,
don't eat the whole elephant, not going to happen.
Amen. I mean, if you want to lose 20 pounds just because you want to like get in shape, like, just set a goal. I'm going to lose 1 pound this week. Like, most people don't do that. Literally, most people just don't even take that first step. They're like, oh, I just want to learn to lose 20 pounds and I haven't figured out how to lose it yet. Well, like, well, lose the first one and I bet you'll lose the second one. You know, that's just kind of,
right.
That's my personal thought, is like, just make some step, set a goal for yourself that week. And then odds are you'll make the next step. And then you can prove to investors that we're worth a bet on you. And then I think, like, this is a hard one in early stage, but like, to be able to create a team and to convince an investor group that you have the team and the well-rounded skill set to achieve the goals that you're looking for, that's a pretty good slide to have in the deck if you have it. You know, I mean, sometimes a team is 2 people. It's like, you got this visionary founder and then you've got this, you know, behind the scenes good programmer or good technology officer or whatever. I've invested in companies that had 2 people. But I trust that they actually are a good yin and yang, and they are well-rounded. We don't want to invest with like one visionary with no follow through. You know what I mean? Like, there's idea people out there that can sell you on something, but like, if they don't have the group together to put it together, then it's not going to happen. And then the final part of a slide deck, in my opinion, once you've set the problem and the solution, you've told everybody how your solution is going to be protectable, and you've got the team to do it, and the market that you're going to attack, and the milestones you're going to achieve to get that in that attack mode. Now you just gotta hit them with the sales pitch, which is like, what's your ask? You know, are you like, come join us? It's $100,000 buys you X% of the company, and we would love to have you involved. You're getting in early, and once this company's worth 50 million, that your investment's worth a whole heck of a lot more, and you're along for the ride from the ground floor. And if you've done your job, which like checking all the other boxes, then that last ask should have the investor pretty excited. And pretty important step of this is pricing your deal accordingly so that you get the money that you want to get. Because I do see a lot of founders these days pricing their deals at, we've got 2 customers and we've got a team and we got a $5 million pre-money because we went to this venture competition up in New York and they said that's what our company is worth. I'm like, well, did they give you money at that valuation? Well, no. So whoever gives you money at that valuation that's when your company's worth that, and not before that. So if you're asking for a $5 million pre-money valuation, and for those who don't know, that's where you valued your company at 5 million. If I put in 100 grand, now your company's worth 5.1 million, and I have 100 divided by 5.1 million. That's what my percentage is. Now, if your company's worth 3 million, my percentage is higher for that $100,000. I'm more compelled to put your money into your company. We've invested in some companies that are, 17, $20 million pre-money valuation because they're so far along that even though we're getting a smaller percentage, we're like, the risk is off the table. Like this company already has $5 million worth of revenue. Like we think this is going to be a good one. It might not be 10x, but it might be 5. And we've done some deals like that. So it's just like anything. If you price it low, people will jump in. If you price it high, they won't. And that's unless you're a really, really good salesperson. So
Brian, what are your thoughts on a capital raise that is not a priced round, where they're coming in with, the future through a safe note, through a convertible note? How do you all think about that?
Yeah, good question. So there's several ways to fund a company. There's equity, which you've given up a percentage of the company and you have shares in that company, and that's most investors, including me, think that's the best way to invest in a company. Like I know I've got equity in that company, for better or worse. There's convertible notes that are being used a little bit less often. It's somewhat like a safe note, but I've loaned you money, so to speak, even though I know you'll never pay it back unless you actually have success. So it sort of is like an equity investment. But convertible notes are decent way for a company to save money on legal fees. If let's say you want to raise $500,000 of seed money, I would suggest you use a convertible note, because then you get 5 people like me to put in $100,000 each. You owe them each 100 grand plus the interest that they accrue over the year. And then 3 years from then, you've got a qualifying event, which would convert that note into equity. So either you take on a bigger investment round or you sell the company and that note converts into equity and your investors are happy. The third one that Lisa's asked me about is a safe note, which is much more common, it seems, these days. It's my least favorite, personally, way to invest in a company, because if somebody says to me, you're investing in a safe note, we haven't set the terms, but you get a 20% discount to the next round, which sounds good. I'm getting a discount. What if I've invested in a company? I think it's worth $3 million based on their revenue and their traction. And so I'm getting a 20% discount, so to speak. So theoretically, I guess I would get 2.4% or $2.4 million valuation because I got a 20% discount. That there's no guarantee, there's no cap on that note. Now, sometimes they do put a valuation cap into a safe note. So they'll say it will convert at no higher than a $10 million valuation. You get a 20% discount. I'm like, okay, so I'm really probably investing in an 8 million valuation. I hope everybody's following my math. So I don't get any of the upside from when I thought it was worth 3 million to when I convert at 8. It doesn't, there's nothing to me. I get, like, even though I invested early, my conversion happens at 8 million. Now there's a uncapped note where you get a discount of 20%, and I don't know when the next round's going to be. This company could go gangbusters for the next 5 years, then take on an investment round at $250 million valuation, and I got a discount of 20%. I got no benefit from the upside of the risk that I took betting on it early. That's why I won't invest in an uncapped note. I don't really love valuation cap notes that have a valuation that's a lot higher than what I think the company's worth. So the best one, if you want to use a safe note, it's either like you get a 50% reduction in the valuation cap. I'll do that. I'll consider that. Or you give me a reasonable cap where the valuation won't exceed 3 million or $5 million when we convert. And if it does convert, or if the next company invests at 20 million valuation, but I got my note that caps at 5, I've gotten a very good discount onto the next round, if that makes sense. Does that answer your question, Lisa?
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
So if I'm handicapping which ones I like the best, give me the equity first because I know I've got equity. Give me a note because I know I at least have some leverage on the company where I can say, well, I can default that company and say, you owe me 100 grand or else I own your company at some point. Now, usually we're pretty good. I've never defaulted a company. We've never said, pay us our money or else we own you, or we're like, we'll extend, give us these terms, that type of thing. So, but it puts pressure on the founder to come through with something to get to the next milestone. The safe notes, in my opinion, don't. There's no time frame on them.
Right. Okay. I know we get a lot of questions about founders coming to our innovation hubs or other ESOs saying, I've got to come up with a lead investor. You've mentioned that Bluegrass Angels, which I think is one of the very few in Kentucky who will take a lead position. Talk a little bit about when you do choose to do that. What do the terms look like for you to take that lead role? What makes that interesting for you where you're willing to do that?
Good question. There's also, I know Kinetic up in Northern Kentucky is another one that I didn't mention that I do believe that they lead deals.
Yes.
I don't know of any others, but there's other. So a lead is somewhat of a nebulous term, but it's whoever makes a validating investment into a round with a significant amount of capital. I think like that. And there's no definition of a lead investor, but in reality, it's someone who sets the terms, says, okay, I'm willing to invest under those terms and help you draft up the legal documentation. Not that the lead investor doesn't pay for that, like the company does, but it's sort of split because it comes out of the investor's money that they put into the company anyway. So yeah, what terms do we ask? I mean, there's something called NVCA, National Venture Capital Association.
Yep.
Standard documentation. And most of our attorneys use those NVCA documents because they're boilerplate and cheap and repeatable. Sorry, I've got something in my throat. But the NVCA documents are what we use for the most part. And so I like keeping it simple for the founder. We're not trying to like dictate the terms or ask for like huge preferential benefits when we do take the lead, because then other investors, we want our money to get amplified because it helps the company. So if other investors are coming in and like, well, yeah, but the lead got 30% discount to what we're putting money in, and that's not necessarily fair. What are they doing for that? So maybe we're stupid and we should take like a little bit more benefit because we're providing something that other people aren't willing to provide. But again, we're doing it for the good of the community, and we're real selective. So we make apologies about that. We are selective, but we don't take fees for it or anything like that, if that makes sense, Lisa. So, but we will sit down with the founder. We'll say, this is what we expect from you. This is what a standard deal documentation looks like. Here's a good attorney that we would use that we suggest you use it. There's attorneys in Kentucky and outside of Kentucky that we suggest people using. And then we introduce them to quite a few potential syndicated investor, like people, when there's a list of folks that once we've made an investment, like a lot of other companies and groups will follow on. Commonwealth Seed Capital is a good example of that. We have open dialogue with CSC all the time because we co-invest in a lot of deals. Once we lead a deal, they most likely will give it a good look. There's a few venture groups outside of Kentucky that like co-investing with us. And so that's our goal, is like, let's say we put 250 grand in, we want to see if we can get another $750,000 for that founder so that we know that they've got the runway to succeed.
Right. Okay. What might be some closing remarks in the couple minutes left here?
I guess, I mean, I've said pretty much everything I was hoping to say, which is follow the dream. There's nothing better than having success and doing the journey of a founder, whether or not you even ever provide an exit for your founder or for your investors or anything. You're going to learn a ton along the way. You're going to employ people. You're going to help Kentucky if you do have an exit or produce some really awesome returns for your investors. You're a hero. Like literally, we celebrate people like that. There's a
Yeah,
entrepreneurial hall of fame for this. I mean, like
that's
this
right.
is this is it's something awesome that every one of you, if you're on this call, are chasing. And so, yeah, but don't get paralyzed by the inability to raise big amount of money, um, or not, or having milestones that are too far off into the future.
Yeah,
So I would, like I said with the silly weight loss analogy, like set a very immediate goal that you're going to get X done by
right.
this date. And just to prove to yourself, you'll get so much confidence just from like hitting a milestone. And if
It's
you
that
don't, you gotta,
iteration, hitting those milestones, showing consistency,
yeah,
discipline, yeah, and that focus. We did get one. We'll take one final question here. In your opinion, do Kentucky investors have an appetite for defense-related ventures?
I can't think. I mean, sure, absolutely. The Department of Defense is a huge, like it's one of the bigger economies in the world. They've got a huge budget and they're sticky revenue. I mean, if someone came to us with a defense contract of any type, sure, we would give it a great look. It's really hard to get in there. That's a tough one. And the other thing is, you've got if you get the Department of Defense to fund your company or to be a customer, that's awesome, but they're the only customer you got. If
Yeah,
you lose them, that's tough. So it's a risky endeavor. I don't know of any groups that like specifically seek out defense type of companies, but I'm not saying we wouldn't. You know what I mean? Like it's
yeah.
just something we underwrite. There was another
Okay.
question too, unless you
Yeah,
don't want to
just
take it.
really quick to close out for you here. Is there a good reference or source book or website that essentially covers the basic information you provided about the perfect pitch that you like to recommend?
Hmm. Uh,
Peter
I can't
Deals
think of
is one
one.
that we often
Peter
recommend
Thiel's
to
is
our founders. Yeah,
the one 0 to 1 or whatever it's called. Um, I've read it. It's phenomenal. Like Peter Thiel's a genius. So highly recommend that. And there's other ones. I mean, if you typed in Google, like entrepreneurial book or venture book, you'll find, and just go on the reviews, you'll find so many. Um, there's
nice,
plenty of YouTube videos too. So bottom line
awesome.
is just create something awesome and convince people it's awesome and build an awesome team and
Yeah.
people will give
And
you
that
money.
that is absolutely the information that you have shared is what we will share with our startup clients. So we very much appreciate just getting a really solid overview of Bluegrass Angels, your investment thesis, how your application process and review look like. We're highly anticipatory of Fund 6 coming up, I guess. So
Okay,
that
we'll
is
do it.
always awesome. And we want to thank you and, of course, Chris, for the leadership role that you have in our Kentucky statewide entrepreneurial ecosystem and just keep going. We love it.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for being there for all of us and our startup clients. And thanks
Thanks, everybody.
for joining us today. Yeah.
My pleasure. Yeah,
Thanks,
help us fill
Brian.
our pipeline. We
Yes.
haven't had the best deal flow, so we need some more companies to help us out.
It's
We're,
been
we're
tough
looking.
in the last couple months, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's looking up. It's looking up. Thank you so
love it.
much, Brian.
Cheers. See you guys.
All right. Let me just jump back. All right, and now moving on, we have a short 5-minute, what we call somewhat of a featured function, where I'm happy to introduce to all of you. DJ Wasson is Deputy Secretary of the Public Protection Cabinet, and she's going to talk a little bit about Kentucky's newest initiative, Speed to Market. And I know in our tech and tech-enabled startup world, we talk about speed to market, meaning how quickly can you do customer discovery? How quickly can you validate your hypothesis? How quickly can you build that MVP? How quickly can you get it into customers' hands for early feedback, early adoption, get it to commercialization, et cetera? That's generally how we think about speed to market. This is a new initiative to support entrepreneurs And I will stop sharing so we can bring DJ forward. Hi, how are you?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate being on. I'm just going to take a few minutes to share with you our new Speed to Market initiative, which is really a tool, a resource for everyone. It's really just to help you navigate state government. It can be tricky, it can be big, it can be confusing. Sometimes those of us in state government don't know which cabinet handles what, right? So that's really what this tool is. See if I can share my screen. Let's see. Tell me if you can see that.
Not yet.
Not yet. Welcome to the fun
I know.
of.
There we go.
All
Something's
right.
happening.
Okay.
There we
Well,
go.
great.
Got it.
So this is hopefully it's sharing the right screen. Our new website, our
Yes.
speedtomarket.ky.gov. Again, one of the tools that we have put together through Team Kentucky. I'm with the Public Protection Cabinet, but there are so many cabinets that startup companies or existing companies need to touch base with. And so this tool is both informational and to help you navigate all of those different things. You'll see kind of our navigation bar here in the middle, which relates to all the different cabinets that you might need to touch base with. We're hoping that this can give you some information about just common resources every business needs. And then I'll scroll down. This is actually my cabinet, Public Protection Cabinet, where I work. And we handle building permits. We handle, alcohol sales, if you're thinking about that. We handle a lot of different professional licenses. So we've got some general questions and answers here on our website that are common questions we get as a cabinet. We've also have a contact person, a real live person with a name and a phone number, a direct line phone number, and an email.
We
so
love
that if,
that.
so that you all can talk to a person if something's not making sense or you don't see an answer to a question you have. Again, back up here in our navigational bar, these are all the different cabinets. So if maybe there's an environmental permit, same feature. New contact person at that cabinet. So it doesn't matter what cabinet you start with. This is a connected team. We've kind of tested this process through some housing developments that we are creating in Eastern Kentucky following the floods. And what we learned is if you have a team from multiple cabinets working together for a common goal, you can get a lot accomplished. And so that's what this is all about. All of us are working together. All of us have a piece in getting a business operational. All of us are going to meet at least once a month to kind of help you all through your processes. But even if you have a question before then, we're working behind the scenes. So you don't have to know, I need to go to Public Protection Cabinet to get my building permit. And we're not going to say, now figure out the rest. We're going to lead you through and help you navigate through. Again, with the goal of getting your business operational as quickly as possible to help you navigate. Do I need this permit first or this inspection first to help you through? Mm-hmm. So again, that's a real quick update on this new website, this new team approach to helping you navigate state government. And we even have contacts at local government. We can get you all to the right places if that's an option or a need for your business. This was just launched in August. And again, started with some very common questions that we receive as cabinets. It'll grow as you all send in your questions or things you don't see answered on there. Let us know that. We want this to be a useful resource for you all. Yep, let us know and we'll just continue to grow this resource. Even with, I'll scroll down and share one other thing, some real quick resources by industry. Not every answer, but if you click on that, you'll kind of think through, see a document that will help think you through the steps that you need to take specific to an industry. I'll just pause there and just let you again know that this resource is out there, is available. And really thank you for letting me share this opportunity, and hope that we can all work together just to make that better. So I'll just
Great.
pause there.
Thank you, DJ. So for all of our audience today, if you have startup clients that are in need of permitting, licensing, other certificates, documentation, information that you generally think would come from the state, here's your, I'll call it that sort of one-stop shop that's a connected group of services. You can just go to speedtomarket.ky.gov, right?
That's correct. Yep.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much, DJ. Thank you for
Thank
sharing
you.
this new initiative to support all of our early stage clients. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and I'm back, and hopefully you can hear me, rejoined. And so now it's my absolute pleasure to kind of round out where we are at this point. Hang on one sec. There we go. We have Jen Callahan, who is with Amplify. She is their Chief Vision Officer. And of course, Amplify is our innovation hub that is representative of the Louisville region all the way down south to the Elizabethtown region. And she's going to be, I'll stop sharing so she can pull up any slides. She's going to give us all the latest and greatest that's happening within the Amplify Innovation Hub region. Hi, Jen.
Hello, Lisa.
There we go. Yeah, we see your
Anthony.
slides.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much. And thanks for hearing from DJ and from Brian. From the investment perspective, it's the perfect setup really for where I'm going to go next. We're going to zoom in some steps earlier in the pipeline. Hang on one second. There we go. Just as a reminder, this is the area that Amplify is serving, and hopefully we're shaping up some of the startups and deals that the Bluegrass Angels will be reviewing next. Our mission is simple. We are existing to meet founders where they are and equip them with the tools and connections that they need to grow and scale and be venture ready. I want to start with a little story about Roland. Roland is the founder of C2 Keep, which is a cloud-based software solution for pharmacies. It simplifies controlled substances management. And in talking with Roland, he was telling us a little bit about his background and how he became a founder. It was towards the end of high school that Roland had told his mother, I'm either going to lean into healthcare or I want to be a pilot. And his mother was not thrilled about him being a pilot. He eventually did go into the pharmacy world, and as he was in that role, he was realizing how manual it is to manage inventory for drugs like hydrocodone and oxycodone. And it was during that experience and seeing some of those inefficiencies that he had the idea to come up with a digital solution. And ultimately, that solution is now proactive in preventing things like addiction. When Roland came to Amplify, he was around stage 3 as a founder, and he was getting some traction, but he needed to accelerate his company. So Amplify created a scholarship to enroll him in a program called GrowthX. And through that experience, he grew his business significantly. And now he has an entirely new network for continued support. He still talks about how pivotal that program was in his journey. Learning from founders like Roland and his Growth X experience, we started talking internally about how can we do that for more founders. What are they experiencing right now as far as programming? And what we learned is that the traditional way of programming no longer matched how founders are actually operating. They're still building. They do have constraints like time and bandwidth, and access is still continues to be a barrier. So the question for us became, if the people that we're serving are still out there building and they need more access, what do we need to do to rethink how we're serving them? And rather than and always like, come to us, let's just make sure we're available anywhere. So we're meeting founders where they are. We built the Ecosystem OS, which is a platform that gives founders access to resources, networks, mentorship, 24/7. It ensures that no matter what time of day or where they are in their journey, they're going to have tools and guidance at their fingertips. We continue to enhance the platform, and we're launching our Ecosystem Virtual Assistant EVA 2.0 later this year. We're also reimagining how we think about the programs based directly on all of the founder feedback that we get. We're listening to what they need, redesigning our support. We really want to be flexible, practical, and impactful. Our EIR program is one that we're doubling and tripling down on. We have hundreds of hours of one-on-one mentorship that connects founders with experienced advisors. Those advisors guide them through challenges that are very specific to where they are and at the stage that they're in. Second, we're focused on technical upskilling. We partnered with Kella Avanye. He is a founder and former Amplify EIR to provide vibe coding. It's designed to help founders leverage AI and get real support building applications and understand distribution strategies. Building is only half the work. We want them to get hands-on approach to help build an idea that's usable and a scalable product. Third, strategic partnerships with the Community Foundation and Vote Awards. These help us give founders additional visibility, credibility, and connections that accelerate growth. Take the Do-Gooder team as an example. Through some connectivity with Amplify, we reached out to connections at University of Louisville and helped them navigate, and now they're creating a partnership on their own with the University of Louisville. We're extending the approach and how we're thinking about programming to the next generation through a new program called Amplify Our Future. Applying the same like founder first philosophy to inspire and educate the young entrepreneurs. We're actively building that pipeline, partnering with JCPS and U of L's College of Business. It's amazing to see the students and teachers and connectivity happening with startups, and some of those founders are getting real world experience in addition to mentorship and great advice. This continues to help the ecosystem grow stronger together. Ultimately, everything that we're doing at Amplify is about building stronger and more connected ecosystem. As the saying goes, it does take a village, and we'd love to have you on board, get involved. If you want to learn more or hear more stories like Roland's, please check us out online and feel free to reach out to me or my team anytime.
Great. Thank you so much, Jen. We really appreciate just seeing a nice overview of the approach that Amplify is taking to support all of the entrepreneurs in your region, and some of the amazing programs that you have continually either hosted yourselves or partnered with, and just also, yourselves, eating the dog food, where not only are you trying to transition and push and promote the digital wave among entrepreneurs, but also utilizing that yourselves with meeting them where they are and the tech that you're using with your Ecosystem OS. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. All right, I will share one last time. Just to close us out, as you know, in the fall, we are busy across the entire Commonwealth supporting entrepreneurs with a wide variety of various different events and programs and workshops and boot camps and meetups. All of this creating a much larger and important connected community, connected networking. I'll highlight just a few, but you can make note and you can take a screenshot of any of these. Amplify and Forecaster are holding their annual Startup Golf Scramble later this month. Blue North has both their Curious Hour speaker series, their intellectual property workshop, and their Good and Local founder chat. Another Awesome Inc. 5 Across Pitch competition is on the horizon, Wednesday, October 29th. Another pitch competition founder will be crowned that month's winner and move on to those finals. And as we said earlier, a large signature event coming up, of course, is the Awesome Inc. Kentucky Entrepreneur Hall of Fame coming up. End of the month, Awesome has their Fellowship Demo Day, where they'll recognize past, present, and future fellowship cohort companies. SOAR has their Founder Fit Bootcamp. We've got Venture Connectors early next month that is happening. Create has their signature event, the Small Business Summit. And of course, if you like the Vote Awards Demo Day, the culmination of their 10-week accelerator program will be held at the Kentucky Derby Museum. And you can meet us back here next month on November 18th. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.